name is Margaret Nowak, and I'm a board-certified art therapist at the University of Michigan Comprehensive Cancer Center. Once a month, we have art studio workshops for patients and their guests. And last month, we had a workshop where we created gerbera daisies in a kind of a collage format. And we spent the evening taking sheets of paper, watercolor paper, and just coloring them, and then using them and cutting them up to create a variety of items. And I'll show you more of those later. Here's just a couple of samples. And we use just little bottles of acrylic paints and small, inexpensive brushes from the hardware store. As we created these, the only other materials that we really used were scissors and glue. So the first thing that you do is you paint some watercolor paper, and I just have a sheet of watercolor paper. Really doesn't matter what kind you use. This is just a really inexpensive 90-pound watercolor paper, and I like to just put my paints right on the paper. So I start with just a solid color, and I like to add a little bit of different colors for contrast. So I'm going to add some yellow and some white. And you can change directions as you paint for interest, and that's all that you need to do. And you can fill the whole sheet. You're going to end up with pages like this that are completely filled in. A nice way to figure out colors is to go to the web and look up a color wheel and learn about how to use a color wheel, and that'll give you some great ideas about matching colors. So now that I have all of these great little sheets and they're dry, we'll imagine that they're dry, the next thing that I'm going to do is I need to create some flower petals. And you'll see that this has a couple of different sizes of flower petals, some large and small. So what I like to do is just take a piece of paper or even cardstock and draw some petals, flower petals, things that I think that I might like. And with that, I make a decision and I cut either one or several of those out to use as a template for tracing flower petals. And then you're going to take one of your sheets and you're going to draw your flower petals on the back of the sheet. So here's my little template, and you see that I traced over this template, and I did it in a variety of directions, because if you do that, it gives your petals different lines to add to the interest. So on some of these petals, the lines are vertical, and on some they're horizontal. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting when you're going to put together your final flower. So I've traced some of those on the back of one of my sheets. Next step in this process is to actually mount the flowers on some sort of a surface. And you can use more of your watercolor paper, just a white sheet, or you can actually use a page of your painted paper. And the first thing that I would do is draw a circle in the center of the page. Doesn't need to be perfect because you're going to be covering that up anyways. So I've got all of my petals that I cut out, and basically what I'm going to do is begin lining them up on this sheet of paper. So I like the way that looks. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to start gluing these petals down. And I will show you basically, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn all these petals over. Makes it a little bit easier and quicker for gluing. All that I do is put a line of glue up each petal. Very simple, very quick. And then just turn them all back over and glue them down. I'm going to work around the flower one more time, And this time I'm going to add a second layer, upper layer of petals. So I've got these all glued. The next thing that I like to do is cut some little tiny petals. And here's some samples of little petals. These are very easy to cut. A little strip of your watercolored paper. So I fold the paper in half, and then I take the scissors and just cut it like this. And these get glued and applied just like the other ones did. If you look at gerbera daisies, you'll see that they have a small fluffy layer around the center of the flower. And these little petals will give you the illusion of that little fluffy layer. Then I've cut out some little circles, and for these I like to use, these are little scissors that have edges on them in different shapes. And I've got a couple of different types, but these scissors can be purchased individually or in sets. But I've cut several of these for the center of my flower. And I'm going to use some glue to help hold that down. And I'm actually going to do 2 different sizes. And then something that I like to do in the very center is to take sheets of paper and paint them darker colors. This one happens to be blue, but you could do browns or blacks. And then I put little dots on the center of these. So I just did dots with a smaller paintbrush on here. And there you go. So I've used these little daisies and made a bunch of different styles and a bunch of different sizes, and I just want to show you some of the ideas that you can use. They look really nice mounted on black, and this was actually a card that I made into a black greeting card. You can make a bookmark and add a little quote, use a white gel pen on that also. You can use a wide variety of stickers, and I've got stickers with quotes or stickers that have individual words, and you can add those onto the front of your greeting card. You can also use an assortment of buttons to embellish your flowers with. One that's been framed, and you can put it on a little easel. This is just a tiny little easel, or you can hang that on a wall, but they look very nice framed also. Well, this is our finished product. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoy making some of these daisies for yourself.